Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. The hunt for cheap, or I should say affordable pens is still on. There's quite a bit of choice out there, I got to tell you. And of course, we're dealing really with the Chinese manufacturers, you will. They're just coming out with just some very, very nice writing instruments. I've got to tell you what, most of them are under $50 US, which is just fabulous, because it's very difficult to get, a nice pen, nice fountain pen at that price. I mean, we've got piston fillers, we've got cartridge converter pens, resin, metal, new materials are coming in. We've got number size 8 nibs coming through. So, we can't ignore that market. And I say congratulations to them. They're making the hobby affordable to a lot of us. It's nice to get, very expensive pens, but not all of us can afford that. And if we're going to get some fountain pen therapy, it sometimes, cost becomes an issue. So, having said that, today the pen I have for you is another Asvine edition. It's the P50. I've chosen a particular model that I think the colors are just delightful. So, we're going to review this pen. Let's take a look at it. Is it worth the price? Does it give us the writing experience that we want? Can it be posted? What about the nib? Etc., etc., etc. So, we're going to look at it. I'm going to give you my likes and dislikes about the pen in conclusion, and we'll have some fun. So stay tuned. So we're back here with the pen. And as you can see, we have the typical Asvine box or cardboard box that contains the typical Asvine plastic box. When you open it up, we have our instruction manual. Gives you instruction on how to fill pen. Very practical, pretty standard. And here is the pen. So here you have it, folks. I think it's just a beautiful pen. Asvine P50. We see that inscribed in that center band, which I think is really, really nice. And combined with the fact that you see the two threadings there, it's almost as if it gives us some character, It's got some glitter that makes it stand out, if you will. You could definitely see it. And it's part of the first thing that hits you. You can see that clip is stiff, very stiff, but functional, I would think. There you have it. Finials, nothing, to speak of. Classic cigar-shaped. So there's not much to say there. You got one ring area here around the piston knob. There's another trimming there as well that's holding up the clip. The pen is somewhat transparent, so underneath that yellow-blue marbled resin, you can definitely see the nib and the piston mechanism, which is always a nice touch. Reminds me a little bit of Pen BBS style pens, if you will. It's got a nice weight to it, light, but yet substantive, if you will, for a resin pen. So there you have it. That's the outside. Now let's just see how many turns that cap. That's one turn. And essentially almost 1 3/4, 2 turns, caps comes off to reveal that Asvine. Okay, Asvine, here we go. Come on, camera. Do what you need to do here. There we go. Asvine medium nib. And, my experience with these medium Asvine nibs have always been very, very good. So Hopefully it will be very similar experience this time around. Now that section is a little thin for my taste. It's fairly long, and you can see there's quite a step down from here all the way down here, which makes it very, very thin. For me, a little too thin. It flares up a little bit, which is nice, always nice, so that your fingers don't slip onto the nib. In terms of the threads there, the threads are very, very, very soft, not intrusive at all, so it does not affect, the writing experience, if you will. You can see I put some ink in there, so I'm not going to turn the piston knob, but it is, as we've mentioned several times, it is a piston filler that operates with the knob right here. That knob is a little finicky. It has a tendency to come loose, which is not a good idea, especially when you're posting it, because if it is loose and you're posting it, then the posting might, trigger a turnaround, if you will, which is not a good idea. It might just spin it and then it cause a mess. But there you have the pen. I think nice size, not too big in terms of its length. As I mentioned, it does post securely and comfortably, and it's a nice size when it's posted. Very, very comfortable, and because it's resin, it's not back weighted at all. Just again, be careful with that piston mechanism, and not make sure you don't trigger it or somehow turn it and then causes a mess. And that's of course one of the advantages of some of the more expensive pens, in particular Leonardo, for example, comes to mind, but there are others obviously, where you remove the cap here on the piston knob, and the piston mechanism knob is underneath, and then you can operate it so that if this knob moves, it doesn't move the entire mechanism. And that could be the difference between a $250 pen and a $30 pen. There you have it. So that's essentially, you got a nice ink window. The ink window is very, very, very substantive. I mean, you could really see it. There's no question there. You could see the ink, and so that's always very nice. Okay, it's not a little hole like the Andean N10. It's good, just a little pierced hole. This is, it's a nice window. So there you have it. So that's the pen. What I propose is that we do a size sample or size comparison, and we'll take it from there, if you will. Okay, let's now turn to a size comparison. What I've done is that I've chosen several blue pens, if you will, or blue motif pens to compare this pen to. Now, right off the bat, you could see that it's substantially smaller than most of them, including my brand new N10. But this is the Impronte oversized Mayora, which is a huge pen. This is the Fine Writing International Spectre. This is the Supernova Leonardo. This is the Andean N10, which I just reviewed, which, by the way, folks, is a gorgeous pen. And this is my only and a new Benu Euphoria, if you will. So you could see that it's smaller, at least when capped. And here you have the pens uncapped and unposted. And again, mind you, the Asvine kind of rivals the Leonardo Supernova. And you know what? It's a good size, but the other pens are significantly bigger, but it gives you an indication or some idea of the size. And here are the pens posted. Of course, my Spectre, my Fine Writing International doesn't post, so that's why you see it that way. But you could see that it certainly rivals that Supernova, and is almost, when posted, almost as long as the Angdian N10, and really only because the Angdian has that number 8 size nib. Otherwise, I would say that we're talking about very similar sizing there. In fact, even with my Impronte, which is, you know, a very big pen. So there you have them posted. We'll come back with my measurement table, and then we'll do a writing sample. Okay, so we're back. The first thing, the ink. I'm going to use this Private Reserve Infinity ink, turquoise. These are the new inks that they've come up with. The Private Reserve has, that are supposed to be, you know, everlasting wet. You know, if you got a dry pen, or if you think you're not going to use a pen for a while, apparently this thing is really something that you should look into. So that's going to be the ink. As to the journal, I finally took a jump here. You know, Galen Leather is probably one of my favorite, a small company from Turkey, I believe, that all kinds of accessories, you know, and I've been meaning to get this everyday pad, which is Tomoe River paper. And one of the reasons I never got it was because it didn't have any, you know, the pre-lines. It's just blank. And frankly, in Canada, when I did this thing with transportation and all that, it became, you know, a little too expensive. But I did order a couple of things from Galen Leather, so I figured I threw it in. And you know what? It's a nice. I'm going to see how you do with the writing sample. But look at this. I said, okay, well now how am I going to put that underneath here if, you know, the pad? But no, the pad is made specifically so that it can go underneath here, and nice and snug. And you know what? It's really, it's a fancy little gadget, but it's nice. And I figured for my videos, you know, it gives that extra touch. You could put your pen here, and there you go. And what they provide, given that there's no pre-lines, is, you know, they've got wider ruling, a little bit narrower. Then they got the small grid, and got the bigger grid. So you know what? Let's take the jumps. Let's see how this works out. And if it does, I'm going to order a bunch of these pads because, you know, as you know, Tomoe River, you know, we don't know how long they're going to be around. By the way, it's 56 GSM paper. So that's that. There we go. Let's focus in for the writing sample. Pen is here. Okay, here we go. So, as I said, I'm not going to use it posted. So this is the Asvine. Oh, a little skip there. I think it was me. P50. And this is the, well, I call it the yellow-blue, but I think they refer to it as the yellow marbled, but it's the yellow-blue marbled model. The nib is in Asvine medium. Number 6 steel. Now I feel a little fine-tuning to be had. The ink, well, let's keep going here. The ink is Private Reserve Infinity. And it's the turquoise. Yeah, I don't know if it's the paper, but I sense a little skip there, a little skip here. Not perfect, let's just say, which is very unusual for Asvine, I must say. So in terms of, there's a skip right there. It is fairly wet, no doubt. Is it consistent? Well, there's a skip there. You know, depending on how there's a skip there again. Oh, it's not constant there as well. So I said, now it's either, like I said, it's either the paper that's a little, you know, sometimes the paper has a little bit of a coating, and that coating, you know, it's like almost writing on plastic. But, you know, usually Tomoe River doesn't react that way. And like I said, this is the first time I used this paper from Galen Leather, but it is otherwise fairly smooth. There is a little bit of a twitch. Here again, it skips. You see that? Little bit of a twitch. There again, there again. So out of the box, be right back, folks. Okay, I'm back. I did two things. One, I wanted to make sure it wasn't the paper. And it's not the paper. I tried it on other Tomoe River 52 GSM notebooks or journals, and it had the same skipping and inconsistency issues. So what I did is I took this is the gauge that I have, little. This way I don't have to buy those flimsy. I don't know what they call them. Goulet sells them, and I couldn't get number 5 in there, but I got number 4 in there. So I, you know, opened up those tines a little bit, and then I use micro mesh. You know, a nice rough one and a thinner one, and we'll see what gives. I did test it before, and it appeared to be completely different. So let's see. Yeah, the consistency now is, you know, it's just as wet, but there is no comparison. It is now almost buttery smooth and has no skips whatsoever. So out of the box, not ideal, not consistent. Wet, but required tuning. Okay, so that's for the nib. Now let's look at likes and dislikes. There it goes again. So, you know what? I got to put this nib under dislikes. It's rare, because I got to tell you, all my Asvine pens, and I think I got about 4 or 5 of them, never had a problem with the nib. But this medium nib, it's always been buttery smooth. So this is the first one. So the nib is not ideal. In terms of likes, it's the resin colors and the way it's the piston. The fact that it's a piston filler is a nice touch. I also like that center band and trimmings in general. The design and the build is also very nice. What do I not like about, in addition to the nib? Personally, I don't enjoy this very thin section here. Thank God there's this little flare. I find this thin section. had they made it a little bit thicker, find there's a big drop from here to here, you know. Had it made it a little bit slightly bigger, for me anyway, it would have been much, much, much better. I also find the piston mechanism very finicky when you're posting. You got to be careful, make sure that that piston mechanism is completely closed. My camera is just going crazy on me today. Because if you don't, then it's going to give you problems. Okay, if you're slightly open, then when you do this, so it's a little bit finicky. Just make sure it's nice and shut. And the section and the piston mechanism is a little bit finicky. Okay, but other than that, nice little pen. My view, very nice. Very, very nice. Look at that camera. You know, you buy a $2,000, a $4,000 camera, and this is what it gives you. Sometimes it's better to use your iPhone, folks. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. Let me sign my review and say to you, please subscribe. Any comments? Do not hesitate. Enjoy your pens. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Ciao.